Today I'm going to present about the importance of teaching and learning about contemporary art in our classrooms. This is something I am very passionate about and hopefully will extend this excitement and importance to you as I discuss this topic. Contemporary art is something that will always be present and needs to be embedded into all of our art rooms. When I am speaking about the word contemporary art, I am referring to art made and produced by artists living today or very recently. The contemporary artists we are familiar with today work in and respond to a global environment that is culturally diverse and inclusive, technology advancing, and multifaceted. Now let's talk about art history and what most of us think about when we think about the art history we were taught in our art classes. Personally, I learned primarily, if not near exclusively, about Western art and artists that are no longer living. These artists were pretty much all white males that were known for a single medium, oil paint. However, in my classroom, I want to create a different experience for students when it comes to learning about important artists and how they shape society. It is time to grow and to give youth a broader access to art history. There's absolutely still and value in Western art history and how it shaped our world today. But being able to broaden the definition of art when it comes to history as well as history in the making. The teaching of contemporary art makes art relatable. Art has always been influenced by society and historical events. When teaching about contemporary artists and their art forms, it connects students not only to the individual artists, but teaches them how the artist processed events through art and personal perspectives, giving them tools to connect to their society and to others. Contemporary art and contemporary artists are important to teach because it not only makes art relatable, but also makes it relevant. Relevant to students to gaining understanding of the world around them. It shows key issues and perspectives they can understand deeper than just selective history in a textbook. Art is not just important painting and people from the past, and bringing contemporary art into our lessons will enable students to relate in relevant ways to the art around them. Contemporary art is important due to its historical value being a product and witness of a specific time and era. It enables us to state, gain insight, and question, raising awareness, calling the world to a halt, and encouraging debate. We can use what we know about the world and translate knowledge and perspectives into creation. This is what I mean by history in the making. Contemporary art registers our documents to the happening or events of our society. It promotes individual thinking. Rather than a universal plan and expectation for what our students' art needs and should look like, contemporary art emphasizes different perspectives and unique creativity. Representation. Contemporary art in our classrooms gives much more space for artists that represent more cultures, heritage, and worldly perspectives. Representation is the importance of inviting students into a diverse body of materials that represent people of all genders, races, and ethnicities, while avoiding a simply tokenizing value. It is so important for children to see themselves in the lessons and examples that are taught to them. It builds confidence and self-esteem when they can relate to the artist that is being highlighted. And it opens the possibilities for art and individual careers when they see artists that may look culturally and or spiritually like them. It matters. Students who are able to see themselves in different roles in societies and even in storylines gain more confidence and acceptance of self than those that do not. It empowers our students to know that they can identify in many ways and unlimited ways. Representation in our classrooms is vital to making sure we are meeting the needs of all students and welcoming inclusiveness. Here are some examples of artists that should be taught. Kehinde Wiley, his portrait paintings use historical Western art to portray men and women of color and powerful and worthy, which is not something Western art has ever done before. Kara Walker brings a complex and unique medium that involves thoughts history from a perspective that were not typically taught. Barbara Kruger, her work as an integral place in history of feminist, postmodern, and conceptual art. She uses contemporary culture through unique combinations of image and text. Ai Weiwei emerges as a fighter, instigator in Chinese culture development. He is a vocal political commentator and captures political conviction through personal poetry and his many sculptures, photographs, and public works. Not only do these artists come from different backgrounds and represent more than one type of student, but they use many different mediums and topics of expression. This is so important in broadening the definition of art to our students and helps to make it more approachable. There isn't just fine oil paintings to be considered art, but an endless world of creation to be discovered. Contemporary artists and their art encourages students to explore instead of step-by-step instructions. Discussions of considering how contemporary artists get their ideas and where their inspiration comes from, discussing choices of materials and so on opens the door to safe exploration. It gives students prompts for creation rather than creating cookie-cutter assignments that all look very similar, if not exactly the same. Contemporary art is about concepts and big ideas. Through learning this, students will understand choices or decisions the artist made to create their work. Rather than designing a curriculum with a final product or specific project in mind, we need to consider different ways we can model how to develop an idea. This addresses larger learning goals that nurture critical thinking and research skills. Students can make meaningful works informed by well-researched and developed ideas. Through this exploration, students will develop confidence in their ability to self-explore and empower their process more than the final product. What and how many different ways they can think about topics and how they choose what's important to them, rather than a correct answer or way that they will trust their creative process. Integrating contemporary art and themes into teaching requires a shift from predominantly technique-driven instruction to idea-driven instruction. This again highlights the importance of the journey of creation versus being concerned with how something turns out or trying to please others with their artworks. Contemporary artists and their artwork is not only valuable for our students to be taught because of its importance to documenting our history, but in building students up in their own confidence and their own self-expressive journeys, it will connect them to themselves and to the world around them. Here are the links to my resources I used when creating this presentation. I hope you are inspired to make your own connections on why contemporary art is important to our students, and perhaps can start with your own research as well. In an ever-changing world and growing world, it is important that we continue this growth in our art classes as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch and listen.